Hello crafty peoples, this is Hannah and welcome to my blog. Today I'm going to be working on a Slimline shaker card. I am continuing my stash reduction crusade, so I'm using a piece of scrap paper. When it was delivered, it had a little bit of a blemish in it. You can probably see the white around here, but I'm going to cover that up. This is going to be the background for my shaker card, so you won't see that. So I'm gonna get rid of some scraps like that. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm using to create this card, so that if you want to do a similar project, or if you like this project and you want to try to make it, you can. I did not pull out my die. Let me get that so you can see it. Okay, so this is the die that I'm using for this project, and I have another one. I'm going to do a second card using this die, which is a little fancier, but I'm going to try a new technique, so that may be a video for another day. But I don't know who makes this die, so I can't tell you, but it's just slimline die cut. Okay, and the heart here is a memory box, and it's called Sofia heart. This is an old die, so I don't know if they even still sell that, but I just thought it was really cute and delicate, and I wanted to use it in my in the center of my card. For my alpha letters here, I used this alphabet die. And do I have this? Well, whatever. Anyway, I used this alphabet die. I ordered this because I want to start stacking, making my own stacked sentiments on my cards. And so this is a nice size. I'm going to see if I can get some a little bolder, the same size, but maybe having the alphabet wider. But anyway, so that's what I used to get the I and the U. And the dot on the I came out of one of the other cuts. It came out of the center of the A or the B or something like that, and I decided it would be cute to use that. So I just glued that down. I used the Books by Hand pH neutral PVA glue. This is what you'll see me using all the time. I love it. It is a great glue. It's economical, and it doesn't warp your paper, and you don't have to use a lot. You really don't have to use a lot of any glue. What causes a lot of crafters to get warping in their paper is because they use too much glue. So you have to learn how to do a thin line, or just use the dot method. Okay, now I may use this runner. This is AdTech's crafter tape, and I love this stuff, and it's really cheap because you get 4 of these, and I should say economical as opposed to cheap, but you get 4 of these. It comes in a box, and it's like $5 for 4, and they last a long time for me because I don't use them a lot. For my intricate dies, I will either use my Xyron. I have 2 Xyrons. I have the small little one that looks like a big X, and then I have the big Creative Station, which can do sizes up to, I think it's 8 inches or something. Like it does 8 inches, and it does 5-inch sizes. Okay. The other item that I'm using today is the Crafters Workshop Mini Cubist stencil. I want to put a design on here, and in a contrasting color to this purple. So I've got this set up to do that. And I'm going to be using Memento Bamboo Leaves ink on here to make my design. So what will you need to cut? Okay, now that my rambling's done. All right, so to make this project, I cut, my die cut, I did 4. I glued 3 of them together because I wanted to be able to mail this, but I also wanted to obviously have dimension for my shaker. So I glued these 3 together. The 4th one is going to be my top. This is craft foam. I didn't want, now I use the Darius or Darius, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but I use their craft foam, and I didn't want to have to go through the trouble of trying to take some double-sided foam tape and create you know, the dimension and to seal it. And the craft foam will seal it just fine. When this is placed, when the acetate is placed on top of it, it will create the seal. And so whatever I put in for my shaker, which is just going to be sequins, will be secure in there, and it won't slide down into other parts of the card. So for me, that's just easier. So what you're going to need is to do for this project, whatever die you're using, whether it's a 3-hole like this or a 2-hole or even with a single hole, you need to cut 4 of these panels, and they are, let me get my notes over here, they are 3 5/8 by 7 7/8, and your acetate sheet will be the same size. Your colored cardstock will be the same size. So all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements will be cut to 3 5/8 by 7 7/8. Now you can actually say cut yours to 3 3/4, or yeah, no, 3 1/2. I'm sorry. You can make yours 3 1/2 by 8 if you want to. I was just trimming paper in the beginning because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So you can do that and get rid of the 1/8, because I know a lot of people don't like working in those kinds of fractions. It doesn't bother me. Then for my base, because I don't want it to just be the card, I want it to be an actual card that they can open. So for my base, I took a piece of 110-pound Nina Solar White cardstock, and I cut it to 7 1/2 by 8 1/4, and I scored it at 3 3/4. And that will give me the perfect size for this shaker card that I want to make. And I'm going to burnish this because my crease is not as sharp as I want it. So there we go. Cross that again and down again. I make a whole production out of creasing my cards there. Now, yeah, that'll give me a tall stand. Okay, so once all of these elements are put together, I think they're going to look pretty good. All right, so like I said, I want to use this cubist on the front of my project. So I am going to go ahead and do that. And I'm using my makeup brush to blend this in. And I like this color. This is such a pretty color, and it goes so well with the purple. So I don't have a lot of ground to cover here, so it shouldn't take us very long to do this. I have my stencil and my card with the die cut on it taped down, and I always use the Scotch removable tape. I found that that works a lot better for me even than, you know, my purple tape. I keep the purple tape for other projects, but for this the tape works fine. I will also use the pixie spray, but I didn't feel like this was involved enough to do that, and you have to wait on that to dry. I guess I had time for it to dry. Let's see, I'm trying to line this up. There we go. I think now that will be fine. I'm just going to hold this down. I'm not going to put any more tape on it. I think I'll be able to match this up. Okay. And later on I may decide that this needs a piece of ribbon across the top, and if I do, I have some really beautiful lavender ribbon that will match this. Okay, so that takes care of the front of my card. And these little pieces of glue, I have like a little lamp, have a little lamp over my desk, and I take that and my purple tape and I stick those strips up there. So I have washi tape and all kinds of good stuff sticking on here that I can use again because I'm trying to stick to my crafting budget. Okay, so we can put that away because we're not going to use that anymore. And I am going to clean my brush, because if I don't clean it now, I'll put it back in the rack, and then when I get ready to do something else, I'll pick it up and I'll contaminate my... And that's all I do with my brushes. I know some people have like brushes for every color, and I don't see the point. I don't want that much clutter in my studio anyway. So here we go. So you see, that's going to look really cool there. Actually, you know, it just dawned on me, I need to correct one of these measurements. Your card base, the colored cardstock, will not be 3 5/8 by 7 1/8, because it will be 1/8 of an inch wider than your die cut panels, you know. So it would be 3. So this panel, I'm so sorry, I'll put the measurements up on the screen, but this panel would then be 3 6/8 by 8. Yeah, 3 6/8 by 8 inches. Okay, so now that we've got our measurement straight, remember this is going to be 3 3/4 by 8 inches long, and then the other measurements, the 3 5/8 by 7 7/8, remains true for everything else. And so the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to attach my frame to the back of, and I am going to use 1/8 inch double-sided tape. And I wanted to show you, since this is a part of my beginner series and a part of my quest to help people not spend too much money on crafting supplies, I ordered these from Amazon because I had run out of the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape. And I got 8 of these in a package for $4, and that's a good price. There is no reason to pay $4 and $5 for a single roll of anything. I also get the and they have a pack like this that's 12 in a pack for like $5 or $6, but 8 will last me a long time. I order the 1/4 inch size, and I get I think it's 6 in a pack for like $7. It's very economical. And then I order their mixed package, and I get one of, there's like 6 in a pack, and you get one of each size, and it's like $8. And it just works out better for me that way. I don't use a lot of double-sided tape, so when I buy it, it lasts a long time. I order the 1/4 inch because that's the size that I use the most, and it's just cheaper for me to do it that way. So that's just a supply tip for you. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to take my double-sided tape and just run it down the side of here. And I'm going to do it on both sides, and I'm going to do it in the middle. And so if you're doing this along with me, then you'll probably be a lot faster at this than I am. Tape and I don't have the best relationship in the world. Let's see. I don't want this sticking through my holes, so I know they won't be able to see it, but I don't want to create an environment where my sequins are going to, you know, stick. Oh, this is going to be fun. Maybe somebody needs to make a 1/16 of an inch tape. I don't think anyone would want to use it though. Okay, so let me get this down like that. Okay, I think that's going to hold it because I always use glue along with my double-sided tape. Now I'm going to pause while I pull this up. You don't have to watch that. Okay, so while we were away, I decided that I would go ahead and put down tape on everything that needed tape so that I won't have to stop again. You always want to burnish. I practiced on the back side before the front side because I wanted to make sure this would work. The colors would work. I knew the colors would work, but I didn't know how the design would look. But anyway, so everything has the double-sided tape on it now, and on the foam, obviously I did it on front and back. So when we assemble this, we will have, oh, I think on this side I didn't do the, so we will have, this will be our first layer, and then the foam will go on. This will be the first layer, then the foam will go on top of that like this, and then the acetate, that's what the sandwich is going to look like, and then our top layer. And of course, once I get the bottom part of the sandwich done, I will put my sequins in. But right now, we're just going to assemble this portion. And as I told you, I always use a little glue when I'm putting down double-sided tape because it does give me some oops time. And if I make a mistake, I can slide it around a little bit. I cut my hole too big in here, and I haven't taken the time to transfer some glue into one of my little needle nose bottles. So if I get too big a glob, which I went over the top here, I just even it out with my finger. Okay, and I have to stand up to do this because I want to make sure I get this right. Make sure that my margins are correct all the way around. And so that's why I use the glue, because it will allow me to slide this if I need to, as I do here a little bit, not much. Okay, so there we've got our first layer. Okay, and the next to go down would be the craft foam layer. When you die cut the craft foam, it stretches. So lining up these, and I've done this like 3 times, and there, it's a very, so because it is craft foam, you can manipulate it. It's soft, and you can manipulate it and push it down when you are putting the tape down. So, and that's what I'll do. Now I need to burnish this now that I'm happy and satisfied with where everything is. And I'm not going to put a lot of sequins in here because I don't really want it to be like covered in sequins. I mean, it's a shaker card and I want to have that shaker element, but I'm not going to put a lot in here. Okay, so I've gotten the foam down reasonably well, and then I realized that I'm a little bit off on my border on this side. And I should have scooched things over a little bit farther, but that's okay. We're just going to go with this. And like I said, I love this craft foam because it does give me a little more time to manipulate. Now, for I'm going to use sequins, and deciding on the colors to put in here. I think I want some yellow, there, and I think I want some this and this, and let's see, I don't want pink. I want to stay with the, I'm going to put a little bit more of the purplish ones in here. I have a dark purple. I don't like that. Let's see how I like these guys in there. Well, you really can't tell because they're kind of pinkish. So what about these? Oh yeah, a little lavender. I'm not going to put the green because I think it will clash. Yeah, I can put a little of the orange in there. That'll be okay. So now let me see what I think about this when I put once I have my acetate in place. Okay, and you really don't want to make these too thick because you do, and see the craft foam keeps it inside just as well as doing the double-sided tape. So get down here. Okay, so I'm gonna get everybody stuck down. What is the story here? I think that's where I was scooching up my so I think those are all the colors I want to use. I don't think I really like any other colors. Oh, I do like that in there though. And I said I wasn't going to put a lot, and I'm filling it up. Okay, that's crafting. I'm not going to put anything on my acetate. I'm going to hopefully all of the adhesive that's on my other elements will keep my acetate in place. And I'm also not going to put glue on this layer because I don't want that glue to go over, come on the acetate and make it look dull. Okay, so I'm going to use my pokey tool, try to get, oh come on tape. This tape, like I said, it's economical, but it has a good, strong, aggressive hold, so you won't lose anything by using it. Okay, so now down goes the acetate, and I've cleaned this, but it looks as though I might have to clean it again. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to do that off camera and I'll be back. Okay, well, I am glad that I did not do my nails before I did this project, because when I was trying to put this acetate down, my fingers kept getting stuck to the tape. Like I said, the tape has a very aggressive hold, but there it is, and I did pop a few out, but everything else seems to be holding, and my acetate is clean, and I'm just gonna seal this down and make sure everything is as it should be. So this will mail very nicely. Now I can hit. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we can get our top layer on. Ouch, don't stick to me. Okay, that off, and this is off, and I am going to put a little bit of glue on this one, and hopefully I can do it with enough. Well, I think it will help to take the top off. Okay. Fold it back. Alright. I'm just going to put, oops, a dab. I don't know why I cut this hole so big in here. And I'm going to smooth this out just because I really don't want it to squirt out onto my acetate, but I do want to have time to and this glue dries relatively quickly, but it still gives you time to play around with whatever it is you're trying to adhere. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over, and the thing here is to get my holes as close to perfect as I can, and that's looking pretty good right there. That looks pretty good. Okay. Alright, so we got everybody lined up. Now I've got to clean my fingers. Let me straighten up a little bit of my workspace here. So I'm not exactly sure at this moment how I'm going to treat the inside. I have some leftover pieces from another project that uses these colors. So I'm thinking that I may use that. Yeah, see, this is still allowing me to manipulate it, so that's good. Okay, and there we go. And that is my shaker card, and here it is. I use my Teflon bone folder on my finished projects, but on the inside I use this old beat up one. But you know, you don't want marks on the outside of your projects. So okay, so there we go. I like it. I think it's cute. Now I am going to attach this to this white card, and I've got my little, these are my go-to, this is my one crafting hack that I have to have. I don't know what I would do without these little pin curl clips. I've been using these ever since I started crafting to hold things down. Now I have some fancier ones, but I don't really use those a lot. And what I do with these is just so I can stand my projects up and sit it off at an angle. And this is a little top heavy, so I'm going to put a lot of card on the, I'm going to put a double layer of card on the inside. Like I'll probably put some of the wild pansy, which is the color of this cardstock. I'll put some wild pansy on the inside, so this is a little heavier, because obviously with all of the shaker stuff going on, it gives you a heavier card. But I think that's going to be pretty. We just need to figure out, you know, the finishes for this, like maybe pop some sequins out here, or put some lavender ribbon on it, and then putting the pansy on the paper on the inside. Okay, so I played around with a lot of embellishments and different ribbons, and I didn't like any of them. So I decided that what I wanted to do was go with adding the gold cord and a brad. And this is something that I do with brads, particularly when I have a thick layer and I've already put it together and I can't punch a hole to put the brad through and then tie my ribbon around. I will just put a piece of double-sided tape inside the brad. I pull the little legs off. Those are the little legs that were on the brad. I can get rid of those now. And then I just cut a piece of double-sided tape that's, you know, a little wider than the inside of the brad. And usually I use my tweezers to do this because it'll really get down in there. And peel that off. And then whatever tape is overlapping the edges, I just fold it back in on itself, because I'm going to put glue on this. Once I'm satisfied with that, I take my glue and I put a fair amount of glue on the inside of the brad. I position it on the bow where I want it, and I want this sort of like in a triangle shape like that. And then I take one of my clips and let me move this over because I want it. And, oops, come on. I have hand issues. Oh, come on. You gotta do this. Okay. Have to get it on top of there. I hope it'll hold on this, because this one is not as flat as some of the others. Okay. And for my cord, I usually just take a piece of tape, and in this case I'm going to use one of those discarded pieces of removable tape, because it's going to be taped down anyway to hold it in place. And I just let this like sit until it's dry. And the brad that I used came from one of my Bo Bunny collections. So we're going to let this sit and get dry, and then you can see what the final embellishment looks like. Okay, my desk is a little bit of a mess, but I wanted to show you what I did with my inside. So I took my stencil that I used because I wanted to tie this into something and not have it hanging out there by itself. So I took my stencil and I used my colors on the inside of the card, and then I put down a piece of the wild pansy, and now I am going to put this white card right on top of that. Let me wipe that off. Get off, get off. Okay, and I just used wet glue. I'm a big fan of using wet glue, and especially the books by hand glue, because it's just great. And I won't get that buckling. It dries clear and it dries flexible, so it won't make my card super stiff. Let's see, this should be set now, so we can take this off. Oops, daisy, that's not good. Oh, it moved my, okay, I can just push that back. It was so tight, it moved my So I'm going to have to put a little dot of glue in the back of my ribbon, and I'm going to cut the legs off of that. Okay, so that's what I did to do the inside of my card, and then I'm going to find an appropriate sentiment to stamp on the inside of this card, because I just decided I needed to get started with this. But adding this extra paper is going to serve as a counterbalance to the weight of this front. It'll make the card more stable. So we'll go see what kind of sentiment we can put on here. And probably I'm just going to do something real simple right in the center of the card. Okay, I decided to use my Good Vibes Only die, which has all of these intricate little pieces, and if you don't do something to keep them in place when you die cut, you will have all these tiny little bitty pieces to deal with. So I put it down on a piece of press and seal, which is something I learned watching a Jennifer McGuire video. Her husband, I think, invented press and seal. So I am now pulling out all the little pokey pieces because I don't want them to have glue on it, so that when I put the glue on the back and place it on my panel, I only want the letters to have glue, and I want everything else to be released. So let me get this, because this is all, so I'm trying to pull up, there we go, the whole little frame. And it's coming now, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I burnished this down on the press and seal so that, there we go. So now all I have to do is get out one or two other little pieces. Let's see if I can poke them up from this side, which I can. Alright, and that takes that out, and I think I just need to get this out of my D and this out of my P. Okay, and I tore off a bigger piece of press and seal than I need, but I think I'm gonna, oops, okay, open up. Okay, so now my phone is gonna drive me crazy, and nobody calls me until I start crafting, and then the phone starts ringing and everybody wants to talk. When I was sick and not feeling well, you know, nobody called, but that was a good thing though, because I wanted to rest. So, but it just seems like the minute I start crafting, it's a phone magnet. Okay, so now that I've got all of these little pieces down, I'm going to shake my glue, and even with my big ugly hole in my tip, I think I can make this work. And I am just going to start going along here and just following the shape of the letters and putting the glue on there. Usually I will drag I put the glue on my craft mat and I'll drag it through but I don't want to do that with this one. Okay. Get off of there. I don't want you. Alright, and then I can position this where I want it, which is kind of in the center, right there. And I press it down. And I can use this burnisher to burnish it. And then I can pull up my press and seal. And I'm not worried about the, like I said, the little extra glue, because it will dry clear. And it's probably a good idea to just leave it alone, because the more you mess with it, you're either going to dirty it up or you're going to disturb the top layer of the paper, and then you're gonna see where you were fooling around with it. So it's best to just let it dry on its own. So that's the inside of my card with the good vibes only. And it has a little frame that goes around it, but I didn't want that. I thought that was too much. And I figured this is going to be quite enough for the inside of that card. Now, me being me, I may, but I don't think I'm going to put anything here, because this is busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to help it along a little bit. Speed it up. Speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then we'll finish putting our card together. Okay, so now on the back of the card, you can see I used the Scotch removable tape to hold down the gold band. I have strips of double-sided tape and one thin strip in the middle, and glue. And I'm about to attach this to the front of the card. And like I said, you want to use that glue, because if you don't, you aren't going to have oops time, and your card won't be properly framed. And I know for some people that's not really a big deal, but for me it is. I'm a little OCD, so I get crazy when it doesn't, when things aren't perfectly aligned. Okay, so there's it's completed. I'm going to cut these legs off of this bow and make them a little shorter. I did this cubic design on here because I really wanted to use gingham ribbon on this card, because green gingham and purple are very pretty together, but it was too jarring to the eye, so I didn't. Alright, so that's it. It's simple. I am going to have a step-by-step on my blog. I'm trying to do that all the time now, because I get a lot of questions about how I create my cards. And just like we did this today together, and I was just kind of all over the place, that's how I create my cards, because I never know what a card's going to look like until I get started and the ideas start coming to my head. But that's it. The sentiment has dried on the inside. You don't have to have the press and seal. I use it because it just makes it easier when you have a die cut with a lot of little pieces in it, but you don't really have to buy that. I mean, my thing to tell you guys is don't spend a whole lot of money. Go to the dollar store. Send your husband to the dollar store. My husband's been shopping for me at Dollar Tree, and he's done really good. And I got to show you guys my haul. I'm going to be using some of it for a jelly plate. Okay, so that is my Slimline card. I am going to make an envelope for this. I was going to use one of the envelopes that I have, but I think I'm going to make one for this, and I may put that on my blog as well. Okay, that'll do it for me from here for now, and I hope you'll be back with my next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Hannah, and I am Redorally Designs. Bye.